bringing healing to all of these saints of God who have come out of what is obviously an abusive situation. The sure way to weaken the strength of any people or any collective is to cause one to be at war with the other, when we're all working towards the same goal. And so put some of those smaller things to the side, and let's unify our voices together, our strengths together, to be able to accomplish the end goal. And you all will be able to deal with some of those other things down the line. She lifted her voice. Family members have lifted their voice. Tonight, we're hearing other folks lifting their voice. Men of God, women of God from across the country lifting their voice. Every one of us has a part. None of us can do everything, but every one of us can do something. And we don't all do it the same way, but we're all working towards the same goal. Um, uh, brother Brother Belcher, I've had the gracious opportunity to speak with. I enjoyed our conversation that day, and we're planning to speak again. Brother Belcher, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, sir. Thanks for
I,
asking. Can you
I
hear me?
appreciate you. We can hear you well. I
Very good.
appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It's 9:50, at least here. I appreciate you hanging out with us and lifting your voice to let it be clear that there are people who even on that side of the fence who are vehemently against this and are willing to lift their voice to speak against it. And so you are Jordan's father's biological father. Would you share with us what your thoughts are on this marriage and where you are with all of this?
Well, it gives me no joy to share this experience, and Bishop, if I may first, I certainly like to express, my heart goes out to these ladies and what they've gone through with this person, and all of the other ladies and men who've had to put up with this creature. And I guess by me saying this, and the way I've said it, everyone here on this call seems to be very, very spiritual. And I appreciate that. But please understand that I'm very emotional about this topic. And I don't have the same, I may not have the same spiritual background that you have. So please bear with me as I try to be brief and very much to the point about the story that I'm about to tell. This is my son, my James Goodlet, and I will give his name because I don't care. The fact of it is, he and I have locked horns over this subject, and we are at a point where we will probably never speak to each other again. Um, as I'm giving my side of the story in this argument that I had with him, and he's giving his side of the story, I had to point out to him that I was arguing on behalf of his daughter, Jordan. And all he could give to me was a defense of his minister, his pastor. And I had to let him know that I could give less than a care, although my words were a lot sharper than that, a lot less than a care about his pastor. My passion was with my granddaughter and the vision that I had for my granddaughter ever since I saw her in diapers and what she meant to me. She's a beautiful girl. She really, really is. And she has three gorgeous sisters. But you all need to know that Jordan's father, James Goodlet, sold his daughter out, pimped his daughter out for his own reasons, for his own earthly reasons. And I can tell you what they are, but that's not important because when you make the moves and make the decision to put your daughter in the situation that she is now, and deliberately did it. You need to understand that this was a constructed movement by he and this pastor that went on for more than a year, set this young lady up for over a year. And when this went on, um, all you could do, and when we finally found out, we could scream to high heaven, what is going on and why are you doing this? And like I said, I can give you the reason why his father did it, but doesn't make any difference. Doesn't make any difference. The devil has his own reasons. And anything come out of your mouth. But the reality is that I know that her father did this. Now, um, they try to make it seem as if this is something she wanted to do, but we know she was crying out. She was in tears. She didn't want to do it. And when we found out the Saturday before the marriage, the Saturday before, all of us were stunned. I'm calling you from Chicago, from the Chicago area. Jordan's in Des Moines. Her mother and Jordan's two younger sisters are in Louisiana, just outside of Shreveport. So we're scattered. And when we got word on Saturday afternoon that this wedding was about to happen, we were scrambling to try to figure out what it was we could do, what we could do to put this to an end. And I have two sons in their 30s. And we were thinking that if we have to go to this wedding and stand in the middle of it, we will do that. But understand, that wedding took place the following Monday afternoon. Who gets married on Monday? Who gets married on Monday? I mean, it just came from out of nowhere. And if she was so willing to go along with this, why wasn't any of her side of the family represented? Why weren't we told, hey, Jordan's getting married? Come share. It is a joyous moment. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. Her mother was lied to time and time again about this. And by the time we found out about it, it was a done deal. It was a done deal. And legally, between her father and her now husband, you realize that there's virtually nothing we can do. And by the way, I'm telling you now, she's supposed to be pregnant. She denies it. Why would you not deny being pregnant if you're so happy about being married? She denies it to her mother. Now, how long is that lie going to last? Ask yourself, how long is that lie going to last? But that's the extent of what's going on. But here's the thing, and the bishop and I spoke about this earlier today. I want to put this out to you because I want you to think about this. Because the word is that bad people flourish when good people refuse to stand up. There are people in that church, and I'm talking about Jordan's uncle, Jordan's aunt, Jordan's grandmother. Jordan's paternal grandmother is in Cedar Rapids, not far from Des Moines. And her grandfather is a bishop in that church in Cedar Rapids. Where were they? And you talk to them now, oh, how awful it was, how terrible it was. But something about that church has a grip on their mind. A few hours before this phone call, I was speaking to my son about this again. And he gave me a point of view that I had not heard before tonight. Jordan's aunt in that church was quoted in a magazine, a local magazine, about how thankful she was that Pastor Reed gave her the permission to go and get her COVID shot, and how thankful she was that he allowed her to do that. I said, Greg, she's a nurse. She's a nurse. Why the heck is she going asking the pastor for an okay to get a shot when she knows more about the medical world than he does? He knows nothing about it. But I'm mentioning that because that's the psychological, mental hold that this man has on people at that church. I can the tentacles go 1,000 different directions as we start talking this tawdry tale. But the reality is, all of you, please understand. Please understand. Jordan, her mother, they were all brought up in that church. They were all brought up in that church. And there's something about the hold that they have on people and that mentality that won't allow them to see the world around them. They don't know what they don't know. They believe somehow that they know everything they need to know in the world. They know it all. You can't talk to them. They're very, very difficult to reach. And Bishop, I can go further. You know I can. I can get loud and I can get ugly, and I don't need to go that way. But I hope I've made my point of what it is I'm trying to say. And thank you all for giving me this opportunity, because I can't say enough about how disappointed I am. This has been a turning point in my life. It really is. We are people who, this is soap opera stuff. People, this is soap opera stuff that you see on TV. This is supposed to happen to everyday people like us. We're good people. We are good people. And just like the bishop has said at the very beginning of this telecast, forget about the law. Forget about the rules. Forget about that stuff. It comes down to basic right and wrong. Basic right. That's all this is. Basic right and wrong. And nobody, not the Bible, nothing else needs to tell you that this is wrong. This is wrong. And yeah, it has split my family in a way that you will not believe. We'll never recover from this. James Goodlet is an outcast. And when this whole thing blows up, he won't believe where he's standing out there alone, naked, because he cannot even turn to his family now because of the decisions that he's made to put his granddaughter out there. Bishop, I've said enough. Thank you very much.
Wow, Brother Belcher, we appreciate you speaking with us tonight. We can hear the pain in your voice. And one of the things that I always endeavor to encourage us to pause and consider when family members are coming up here to speak to us. While for some people that are listening, this is just a story. This is just a headline. This is just some tea and mess. This is their life. This is their family. And for them to think enough to say, though it pains them to do it, but to lift their voice openly and publicly to decry this and to condemn it. How much more should those of us who we have no personal relationship, we simply have an ethical responsibility to lift our voice, to call right right, and to call wrong wrong, and to make it be clear that sticking God said on the front of unethical and immoral behavior doesn't make us all of a sudden get lost and locked into some spiritual stupor, unable to use the good sense that God has given to us. Brother Belcher, we're praying for you and praying for your family. We appreciate again you lifting your voice for right, and again, people of God, this is what godliness and what real manhood sounds like. When you lift your voice to to cry out against wrong, to speak up for right, even while having to navigate through your own personal experience and relationship with it. Thank you again, Brother Belcher. Those of you that are just coming in, if you haven't already done so, sign that petition that's up at the top of the room. If you're planning to be with us in Des Moines next week, April the 13th, that evening, be sure you have registered. A link went out today. Registration is free. There's no cost. We just want to have an accurate count.